issued an unconstitutional fake mandate because it was not an executive order and it didn't go through Congress. And he tried to use OSHA and their emergency rules or whatever to sort of do an end run. But those OSHA rules didn't even, the last time they used them was like 40 some odd years ago, and they didn't work then back in the asbestos context. So it's not really a rule or a mandate or anything that has the force of law, but it kind of doesn't matter if everybody believes that it has the force of law and everybody bows down and bends over and gets the shot. So that's what we're seeing, and what the employers are doing, much to their discredit, many of them, not In-N-Out, not a couple of them, but which is a burger chain out here on the West Coast, but a lot of these employers are saying, well, we have more than 100 employees, we're going to have to make you get the vaccine because Biden said so, and it's a mandate. And what I have been hearing, there's good news coming, and here's the good news and the good word. None of the people who actually run this country, and by the way, that is not the politicians, it's not you and me, it's not the white-collar professionals, it's not even the people of faith. The people who are actually running this country, and I mean, like when it comes down to the brass tacks of, wow, my cell phone broke, I need to go buy a new one, or I'm out of pens and pencils, I need to go buy that from, you know, the local supply store, I need kitty litter and milk and eggs. Those products are made and they are moved in this country on the back of blue-collar boys and girls. And those guys are not down with the jab. And I have been drowning, literally drowning for the last 2 weeks in calls from major entities that make product, move product, work in telecom, work in aerospace, work in supplying weapons to our armed forces. They're a defense subcontractor, work at agencies, be they local agencies, state agencies, or even the big guys, the federal agencies. You'd be shocked. Teachers, doctors, lawyers, frontline workers, we knew all of them, the cops and the firefighters. But in the main, what we didn't know, because the cops and firefighters have been, you know, making noises for a while, the blue-collar guys are done. They're over it. You know, there's an old saying from an old movie, we're mad as heck and we're not going to take it anymore, or something like that. It was right around the time I think I was born. And these guys are like, look, you are not going to force us out after we gave 30 or 40 years of our life to this big chain, and we've got pensions and retirements, and we paid our dues, and we went to work, and we put money in the plate every Sunday, and we're raising our kids. You're not going to take that away from us by saying you go get a kill shot that killed every ferret in the animal trial, or else your job hangs in the balance. So their point of view, and I'm just the mouthpiece, is what these guys are saying is we would rather bankrupt our employer and bring this economy to its frickin' knees by stalling out all of these industries than ever seeing our country or our freedom sold to an enemy, which is where we're at right now. So I am here to tell you, and they have the numbers. These guys are 30, 40, 55, and in some cases as high as 73% unvaccinated. And in some of these big entities, 20 of the 30% that got the shot wish they hadn't, and they're having side effects. And I got to tell you, if I'm a lawyer and I get Bell's palsy after a vaccine and I have to go to work like this and I've got the shakes, it's no big deal. If you're moving a crane, if you're moving an airplane, if you're moving a truck, you can't go to work. There's every big employer has employee manuals that says you don't come to work at all if you're under the weather. And these guys who got the vaccine aren't able to work, and they're standing with their brothers. They're saying, we were 20 of the 30% that went out and got it. We wish we hadn't, and we support our brother's right to choose. So a lot of these employers in these industries are looking at really a 90-10 split. That is enough manpower to bring this country to its knees. So all I said is, look, if you're going to do this, let's pick a date that works. And so those dates, guys, for your followers, are Monday, November 8th. It's a week and a half from now. Monday, November 8th. And then that Tuesday, that Wednesday, and that Thursday, which is November 11th, Veterans Day. It is a 4-day nationwide walkout. If your employer is mandating this vaccine, you're not going to work. Now, there are a couple of industries that are accepted from this because by federal law, they are not allowed to strike without going through a very long process, collective bargaining process. And the reason for that, ironically, is Congress realized in the middle of last century, wow, when the railroad people walk off the job or the airlines walk off the job, it absolutely cripples this economy. Yeah. And so what you see in the case of Southwest, and I don't have any insider knowledge at all on Southwest, but you saw this sick out, right? And then you saw the pilot union coming out on official channels saying, we didn't have a strike. That's against the law. We're not allowed to strike. And yet the Southwest thing happened like it happened. So I'm not here to say if you have a collective bargaining agreement that you should break federal law. I'm not advising that. But what I am here to say is every single employee I've heard of from coast to coast, from Canada to Mexico, is saying we're out. If federal law says we can strike, we are out. And I am here to tell you as well, if Southwest wants to have another flu, who am I to tell them they can't? I'm just another person. I don't run their minds or their hearts or their lives or their consciences. But all the guys who can play ball legally and lawfully, they're walking off, and God be with them, and none too soon. And literally, Dave and Amanda, this is going to send such a message, because right now the politicians, they're fat with themselves. They think they run the world. They think if they say jump, we say how high. And what the blue collar guys are going to do is say, no, not on our watch. You want to take our livelihoods away? We will cripple our employer, and we will cripple our country economically before you let us sell out our freedom. We're not having it. And they have the manpower to do it, and they're going to do it, and I think we need to support them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I like that it's falling in on Veterans Day is the climax of this, and the Marine Corps birthday. Can you talk about the people who signed up on the flyer to back this?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but when some of these guys called me and they told me what was up, they're like, we're not doing a tiny little strike. I know there's that November 3rd or 4th flyer going around. These guys are nobody's fool. You know, there's running jokes about lawyers being idiots and other people being idiots. What I have found is some of the smartest folk are the blue-collar folk I am working with and have heard from. They know what's up with the vaccine. They know the writing on the wall when it comes to tyranny and taking away their freedoms. And they were like, we're not going to walk off the job for 6 hours. That doesn't do anything. Yeah, we work in supply chain. If we're going to do this, we're going all the way. We're doing 4 consecutive days, and that is why we need to call all my friends and everybody from General Flynn to Lynn Wood to Simone Gold to Bobby Kennedy. That's Robert Kennedy Jr. We all call him Bobby. Every single person said, I'm in. I'm backing you. Put my name on that flyer. These are people who don't necessarily play ball. They don't always see eye to eye. They have their own pet projects and purposes in life. 100% of these people, I don't think I had a single person say no. All of the lawyers are on board. All of the doctors are on board. Every doctor you've ever seen speaking out about the vaccine and what's in it, they are all on board. Every single influencer, from you guys to Ann Vandersteel to InfoWars that I'm on in 15 minutes to Doug Billings to Charlie Ward. I mean, everybody is on board. And you know why? They understand in their gut and in their heart that this was ordained by God. That's why it's coming together like it is, and that this is a checkmate move. It is an absolute checkmate move. And I don't mind telling a Thailand story. I can't remember if I told you guys this yesterday, but if you have another 5 minutes, I'll tell you a little story about why I believe it's a checkmate. All right, so as you people might know, I used to fight the child brothel industry before I started fighting for our kids here in America who were under attack. But for the last 10 years, up until March of last year, I worked in foreign countries. I worked in third world countries that had a genocide in the time that you and I have all been alive, like Cambodia, where a quarter of their population was wiped out in the name of communism, and in Thailand. So Thailand is interesting. They're not a total third world country. They look very much like a first world country, but politically they're like a third world country. They don't have freedom. They do not have freedom, and they want badly what we have. Even a taste of it is enough to incite them to go chase it. So every 6 years, like clockwork for the last century, they have a coup. And they try to get rid of their existing power structure so that they can get in a new constitutional republic, a more freedom-loving, freedom-minded leadership. And I was on the ground in February of 2014, and the coup was happening. And the military was fighting the people, and they'd make a little headway, and then the people would push back, and they'd make a little headway back. And it literally looked like when you're seeing Australia with the people and the cops, you know, and that's what it looked like for a couple weeks. And then the tractors got involved. The farmers who own really large earth-moving equipment, big tractors, big earth movers, big trucks, said enough. And they got on these big pieces of equipment, and they bounced over 3 or 4 hours of rural countryside, and they encircled Bangkok International Airport. And they did a blockade move with their big equipment, and they brought that frickin' country to its knees. To its knees. And I could never understand. I knew why I was in Thailand to do the child brothel work. I felt that from God, from my heart. I felt called to do it. But I never quite understood why a soccer mom was on the ground watching a coup break out at that particular time. And I asked God routinely, I said, what is the message here? Why am I learning this? Like, when is this ever going to be relevant in my life? I'm an Orange County soccer mom. I am here to tell you, listen to what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. Large equipment is a game changer. It is a definitive title, sea change, game changer. You can use it offensively, like they did in Thailand. And when you have a motorcycle cop come up against an earth-moving vehicle, and he goes, "You need to move this," the guy on the earth mover goes, "Sorry, mechanical trouble." And if they're a mile deep and a mile wide, and you got 100 of those things end to end and side to side, your motorcycle guy is ineffective, your cop in a car is ineffective, your tow truck's ineffective. You need semi-tow trucks or bigger. They're not easy to be found, and they're still not making a dent because you need to nose it up to the guy at the end of the line and start pulling them off one at a gosh darn time. It is a checkmate move offensively. Defensively, product doesn't move without those pieces of big equipment and those factories and those supply lines running. And when those boys decide they're going to sit it out, I got to tell you, all of a sudden our shelves start looking like we're living in a third world country because you got a pencil and a bracelet and no kitty litter and no bacon for your breakfast after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we've been telling our audience that they need to stock up.
Yeah, they should before November 8th.
Before November 8th.
That's what we've been telling I've been telling people too, but before November 8th, make sure you have weeks worth of supplies in the house.
And Amanda, tell me, you had mentioned when we were on the phone the other day, but tell me about the vision that you had a few months ago. Tell me what that was about. Remind me.
It was around Passover of 2021. It was April 8th. So Passover was early this year, I believe. And so it was right after Passover that in a word from the Lord that the Lord had given me, as I'm writing it, in the middle of that word, he says to me, "Planes, trains, cargo, and shipping, just watch, ... That's what the Lord said about it. That's exactly what he said. And it was April 8th. I had prophesied that in a word from the Lord that came forth.
And she said it on Grace and Glory, too. I remember.
I did. Yes.
Well, I don't know if this is what you were hearing and seeing or not, but all I can tell you is it seems like the moment is now. I think we were put here for this reason. Everybody in the world needs to understand nobody holds power over you. You have the power, especially in America. We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And if we all stand up together, nobody can win. We can fight these evil tyrants down. All we have to do is peaceably stand up for freedom and sit it out at work, that November 8th through November 11th thing. And if I haven't told your folks, I don't think I had this going on yesterday when I talked on your show, but I got one of those new texty things. So if you text the word freedom to the number 53445, again, that number is 53445, and you text that word freedom to 53445, you can actually get a copy of the flyer that's announcing this. You can see all of the organizations that are supporting it. You can see exactly what days, again, it is. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's a 4-day strike across the country against any employer that is mandating the vax by any employees who are moved to so do this. And you should send it. I mean, I'm a go-get-'em kind of gal. I think every listener should make a commitment to God, to themselves and their country right now and say, I am personally going to get this flyer and send it to 100 of my friends and family by text and by email. If you have an email database, you should blast that database. And if you're on social media, you should drown social media in it. We want this everywhere because this is the move to be made. It is pivotal. I believe in my bones, in my heart, and in my spirit that it is God organizing this, and this is our D-Day. This is when we stand up. This is our beachhead. This is where we take it back.